Welcome everybody at my YouTube channel. I'm really happy to present today vlog, which is important for scientific innovation and commercialization. And I'm at actually very beautiful location, very different from typical congress centers. I'm at the Hortus Botanicus, so botanic garden in Delft. And this botanic garden was founded in 1917 as a part of Technical University of Delft. So I think it's really beautiful location, and I'm going to show you in a moment a little bit about the garden. Maybe we can do it now. I'm just going to show you some surroundings. And it's pretty big. It's very beautiful. So there is a lot of bridges, a lot of plants, which actually idea of this garden came from culturing these plants and using it for potentially for a biotech innovation. And I'd like to also show you a little bit surroundings here. So it's very peaceful here, so it's ideal place actually for making vlogs and talking why I came here and give you some few words about the event. Why I really wanted to join this event was related to the important non-profit organization Planet Bio, and this organization is supporting startups at scaling up process, shortly speaking. It's also 10 years anniversary of this organization, and importantly, this organization is proactively collaborating with startups, of course, obviously, because of scaling up, but also with SMEs, corporates, knowledge institutes, so also academia, tech and service providers, investors. That's important, maybe message for everybody who is listening, especially startups, entrepreneurs, and policymakers to optimize this support. So it's very great, I would say, proactive stakeholders landscape, which this organization is actively involving in order to help startups to scale up and bring this impactful biotechnological sustainable innovation. And I think what I've been learning so far is that a lot of startups at scale-up phase is failing. Can be due to insufficient financial support or not in a way sufficient preparation for this process before scaling up. So that's all very important, to be prepared, to learn from others, and that's why I'm also here at this event, to learn from other startups which are in process of scaling up, to avoid making major mistakes. And particularly, I'd like to comment about the programs that there are not only startups on this event, but there are also companies which are present here. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about this company. So it will be started by the I'm really happy to join this event. That's my next entrepreneurial stop. And with a great pleasure and great curiosity also in terms of preparing myself also for scaling up as my own startup bio-inspired think tank. I'm really looking forward to all these lectures and listening to all these great experienced speakers. So thank you very much for attention. The event starts soon. It starts in 15 minutes. So I'm really excited, and I'm going to join, and later I'm going to also give you what I've learned from the speakers and what was important take-home message from them. So first I'd like to start with general, I think, presentation of where things go wrong in the scaling up process for startups. Also, this is very important for me because you need to plan it. You have to actually prepare. That's what I also did. Start doing a business plan for scaling up. Scaling up can take few years. It's not a short-term process. So you need to also take a lot of time to be able to prepare yourself, and you need to understand what are the main mistakes many startups did during scaling up, which I'm going to tell you in a moment. But before I will go to it, a lot of the speakers yesterday were bringing the scheme. It's a general scheme of scaling up process, and I think it's important to visualize it, and also that you visualize it, the ones which are also planning to scale up. So you have here, that's very important part. Of course, here it's an arrow indicating down the risk. So the lowest risk is to when you start, right, your company. And you start developing your startup. With time of scaling up and becoming a mature company, of course, the investment grows from zero up, right? So this is important to look at these two different arrows of risk and investment, but also as a timeline. Here you have startup, here you have so early stage, it's not just startup, but it means actually early stage when you just started your company. Then it's product development. It's an important next, I would say, time point in terms of developing your startup into a matured company. Then the next one is market validation. And then it's establishing track record, so actually becoming mature and running your business and having established a company. So these are important stages, and within this early stage, which is here marked by black, coming up to the product development, this is the time when you do pre-market analysis, first acquisitions. You, especially in terms of your developing your product, you perform pilots, right? So early stage R&D activities, right? To start to work on your proof of concept. I would even put proof of concept here. And then from product development towards market, I would say passing the market validation, there are demos. You know, these borders I also put in dashed line because these are not clear borders always. You know, the stages can be continuous, simply based on continuous, I would say, improving your R&D processes and working on your proof of concept and demo models, so prototype, prototypes or prototype, depending how many different projects you have and how many different prototypes you work on. And then after market validation, you have, of course, maturing stage of your company, and I think that's the simplest I can. I think I want to also keep it short. I don't want to go too much in detail so that you don't lose main key message. So that shows this on this timeline scale maturity. It's actually representing, and what I've learned during after hearing presentations of all speakers, which I mentioned to you yesterday. I wanted to again make sure that you will pay attention to where majority of startups, early companies at early stage, the most failing. And they failing in the scaling up. Usually majority, I've said more than 90% is failing in the scaling up phase. Not in early phase, but in the scaling up phase before even becoming maturing. So this is something which is called Death Valley. And there is many different reasons which are related to it. This can be, that's what also was indicated by one of the speakers yesterday. Very often startups run into too many pilot projects, which requiring a lot of investments, and here they burning down the money. And more pilots they run, more money they burn, obviously, meaning that they come into debts, financial debts, and they cannot anymore continue while there is increased demand in investments to be able to mature, to commercialize more products on the market or increase numbers of on the market. So this is the place where the most scale-ups is failing. in terms of investments, but also in terms of burning the money. And the lesson is, don't run too many pilots, and rethink, especially also what I discussed during networking event, rethink if you should do market validation after product development, or even you should do pre-market validation of already during your event pilots, when you have proof of concept, that you already do early pre-market validation so that you know that there is market fit. Because one of the other main reasons why this failing occurs is actually lack of market fit. There is no demand for this particular type of prototype or product. The other, I think, important feedback which I'd like to share, and this goes I want to summarize it, I was very impressed by Mikkel Jansen, which is the principal scientist of bioprocess development of DSM Firmenich. This was the first speaker. DSM Firmenich is a very international R&D company, already with plenty of years of experience regarding the Mikkel in scaling up process and also helping startups, and also in terms of investment during especially the scale-up phase as the expert. But important lessons which helped me to understand where could be also drawback, where he saw that startups were failing. Whenever you develop the product, think about the end in mind. So the end product in mind, the final product, even you don't have it yet. Think about this, because this will minimize the risk of scaling up potential side effects, which can be detrimental. Second thing is, when you develop product, think about downscale, a proper downscale of your process, which saves time and money in implementation of new technologies or new products in a running plant. So where you start to run at higher scale production, for example, of your, prototype, right? Still think from perspective of downscaling. So not upscaling, but downscaling. So it's actually not following really the logic as you would expect. And this definitely will be asked also by investors. How are you going to downscale during upscaling process? Then the third is, perfect scaling up doesn't exist, especially in terms of biological products, right? Or ATMPs, advanced therapy medicinal products. So better think about scaling up for your most critical factor. And in terms, he was giving examples. This could be, CO2 concentration, also contaminations. That was also brought by many speakers, because it's actually taking time. If you have problems with contamination during scaling up, I think this is the major disaster which can happen, because you are not busy on improving your scaling up process, but dealing with contamination. And of course, quality of data. This is very important. The second speaker which I like to highlight here is Hendrik Wegeman, the head business operations of Biobase Europe pilot plant. He actually allows startups to use facility to perform their pilots, so they don't have to build their own facilities to develop, to run their pilots in the scaling up process, but they can rent it. They can also get expertise. So it's Biobase Europe, and I will put links later on in the comments. And he said, of course, you have to also think about scaling up in terms of turning grams into tons, right? Lyophilized, for example, dry products, right? And he brought few important lessons which I like to mention is, to go cheaper, we have to go larger. That's one thing. And the second thing is, think about also applicability at large scale. And there is another pilot plant available for startups in Netherlands, because the Bio-Based Europe is available in Ghent, in Belgium. But it was great that also there was a speaker representing pilot plans for startups to be used in Ede-Wageningen. So the link I will also put there. And I think with this, I would like to thank you for your attention. I hope this is very useful. Please give likes if you appreciate the content. If you have more questions, please put it also in the comments. And see you next